Hey guys, what's up? This is Eugene. Today we're going to do a Ranger guide after patch, and this patch I just did, it made Warriors really bad, they can't do DPS anymore, and so basically Ranger just got really stronger because Ranger has top DPS now, and so we're going to give a pet name, we're going to give a name that says exactly what the build is, so we're going to change it, and I'd say that's a pretty good name, and so then you may notice that down here we're using shouts for Ranger. And we're also using axes because axe is a very strong melee weapon, better melee weapon than it is on warrior. But first we're going to talk about gear, and the gear we're going to be using rabbit gear for some precision, toughness, condition damage. That's going to be really strong in dungeons because most of the bosses hate Ranger almost as just as everyone else in the game. So they're going to aggro to you, but they can't kill you because you got a toughness. And then you got a condition damage, so that's really strong. And same thing with the armor set, we got a rabbit gear too, but we also got a soldier runes. And soldier runes are going to give you some condition removal with your shouts. I'd say that's pretty strong, so it's basically like shout heal like you'll see in a minute, like warrior used to be. And then we're going to talk about axes. We're going to do a rampager axe, so with the sigil of earth, so you're going to be doing a lot of bleeds and a lot of crits. So that's pretty strong too. Definitely a lot of bleeds, and that's good with your condition damage. And then the second axe, we're going to do Sigil of Dreams, and that's basically because every ranger's dream came true, and now it's better than a warrior. So just ignore the tooltip, that's just ANET lying, it actually makes you do more damage than warrior. And short bow, we just have one with Sigil of Earth just in case, but we don't ever use ranged weapons because that's for noobs, so that's why we use axe for melee damage, so pretty strong, just use axe and you'll be okay. And then we're going to go on to traits, and we're going to do some 20 in marksmanship with Beastmaster Bond. So this is basically like 4 grade justice, and whenever a pet goes into a fight, it goes to 50% health like immediately since it sucks. So you're going to get a Fury and Might at the start of every fight, just like 4 grade justice, so I'd say that's pretty strong. Basically already the new warrior, and we only have 10 trade points in so far. And so then we're going to go on and we're going to do a piercing arrow, and piercing arrow is very strong too because it's like in Dredge Fractal. Whenever your team is trying to pull one group of mobs, you can use piercing arrow, and you can pretty much pull every single dredge in the whole game, and they'll all come after your team, and that's really just payback for them kicking you out of the party before. So Ranger definitely has good revenge right here, and I'd say it's pretty strong. And then we're going to go skirmishing. We're going to take a sharpened edges. This is basically like a Sigil of Earth, but it always works, so you're always going to be doing a bleed on crits, even though it says a chance, it's 100%, that's definitely confirmed. So you're going to crit every single attack since you pretty much have a 100% crit chance from your rabbit gear, that's how it works. And basically going to be bleeding a lot, and then you also have a honed axes, so it's like 10% damage all the time since you're using axes a lot, and it's a really strong melee weapon, so sort of like Axe Mastery for Warrior, but it's just better since it's on a Ranger. But we have Circle of Life. That's so whenever you die, you still play Ranger because you still put a healing spring. And so even in death, you're still the best Ranger of all time, and your team will never miss you because you're always there, and they just can't get rid of you. And so I'd say that's pretty strong, definitely pretty helpful to your team. But yeah, that's pretty good with the regen, especially from Nature's Bounty here. So basically this trait makes you 33% more Ranger, because you're always going to be giving regeneration with Healing Spring, and so I'd say that's strong. And it also works with Nature's Voice, which makes your shouts heal basically kind of like Warrior, but it gives regen. So like by having Ranger and all these traits, you're giving everybody regeneration when you use a shout, and I'd say that's pretty strong. So basically like a replacement Warrior, since Warrior can't do shout heal anymore because ANET nerfed it, and now Warrior sucks. And you can't do DPS and shout heal like you used to be able to do on Warrior, like Dante did, which he proved with his build. So anyway, I'd say that's about it so far. So thank you guys for watching, and we're going to be doing some gameplay footage in a minute. We're going to be doing some bosses in a raw, so be sure to stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys in just a minute. Alright, so now we got a gameplay footage, and we're going to be doing raw, and we gotta come over here first. We're gonna pass some mobs, since that's the Ranger's job, is gonna do it, since we do have a Guardian, but Guardian is not as good as Ranger for pathing mobs, so Ranger's gonna go ahead and do it. And so once you pass the mobs, you can just waypoint back, and then that goes to the beginning of the dungeon, and then you can just run back up and meet with your friends, so you don't even have to fight the mobs. And once you get up here, there is a place you can wait, and then you can run around together, and you won't aggro anybody from that spot. So we come up here around this corner, and some people and pugs like to kill these mobs. I don't know why, because they're stupid probably, and there's not really a point since they don't drop any loot, and it's a waste of time. But there are 4 mobs up here that you have to kill, and they spawn, and then whenever they spawn, they're invulnerable for a few seconds, so you just gotta wait a few seconds before you go in. But you can come up, and then they'll come off like that, and then you see the vulnerable buff. Then when it goes away, you gotta send in a bear, and so you send a bear in, and you get aggro, and then you can pull the mobs together, like with a guardian, and then you just want to use whirling axes, and that's gonna block all the projectiles. It's gonna damage all of them with a cleave, because it's the best melee weapon. So you're gonna just fight the mobs, and it's not really hard, not really a big deal. Sometimes a sentinel will put a ring, and then it knocks you down, but it's not a big deal. You can just go back in the middle of it and stand and fight. And so when those mobs die, that's gonna make the door open, and so you might have some trash mobs to fight, just some normals, and you can do that. And then sometimes more come, but it's not a huge deal, no problem. Just gonna come around and LOS them. And some people don't do that because they don't understand LOS, just like a lot of pugs, but this is a guild group, so that never happens. So you just go here, and you're going to fight the mobs that still stay there, and then you're going to come around the corner, and you get ready for the next boss fight. And like if you see right now, in the combat log down the corner, you can see how much DPS we're doing. So that's one thing to take note of, and we're going to do that before we go into the boss fight. And so we're going to pull a boss. And you can pull it with a axe, with your throw axe, just like warriors throw axe, since this one's better. And sometimes your pet will go and he'll get aggro, but that's not a big deal because you can just let him die anyway, and that gives you the for great justice for rangers. And so you see we're doing the whirling axes in between the hunter and the crusher, and that's going to reflect the projectiles, so pretty good. And then you can see we can also use a shout and a cure a condition, a poison. We can use a healing spring too, that also cures a condition. So it's pretty good. You've already got as much utility as a guardian right there, and you got DPS of a warrior all in the same build. And so we're just going to keep meleeing this boss with axe, and we can go up to it, and then we can do a whirling axe again, and that's going to reflect the projectiles. And then you see there, that's a demonstration of you do a healing spring on death. So this is really good for this fight because it's going to cure a condition when you die and you go down, and then they can just res you and it's okay anyways. And so you keep going and you keep doing the fight, and you're just going to res people when they go down, and it's not a big deal because they're not as good as you since they're not a ranger. And when they go down like a warrior, then they're not going to do a healing spring, so they're already worse than you, and ranger's pretty good. But then you can see the DPS, it just kills the crusher pretty fast there. And then next you gotta fight the hunter, since whenever you fight him and you kill him when the crusher's alive, the crusher just reses him anyways, so it's not really worth fighting him. So sometimes you can LOS the hunter behind this light post, but it looks like A-Net likes to break things again, so we don't do that this time. But we can just go up to it and melee it with axe some more, and use a whirling axe to block the projectiles. And then we can use Entangle and put bleeds on it, and see he has like 20 stacks of, bleeds sometimes, not all the time, but that's just because he sucks. But yeah, pretty good fight overall. I'd say it was one of the fastest times we beat it in so far. And then we're just going to get a loot and get the chest, and that's about it for this footage. So thanks for watching everyone, and have a good day. Look at me, I'm a ranger. Look, we got a bear.